Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Every person has grown up with a different set of life experiences, so everyone has a unique perspective on the world around them. Teenagers think differently than adults. We have grown up in a society that is distinct from the society that our parents and grandparents grew up in. We learn from our parents, our teachers, and other adult influences in our lives, but we are much more inclined to follow our peers. As a result, the actions each one of us takes has not only a direct effect on the people around us, but also the actions are repeated by our siblings, friends, and classmates. Thus, we need to be leaders. Fortunately, leadership positions for teenagers in Anchorage are everywhere. We have the ability to be on boards, lead rallies, write articles, and all of those experiences teach us to lead. We are about to explore the value of youth leadership, how to be a leader, programs designed for teen leaders, and the resume building aspect of leadership. As leaders, we will determine the course that our city takes in the next couple of decades. I have researched teen leadership by experiencing it. 4 years ago, I made the choice to volunteer for Anchorage Youth Court, and for the first time, I saw what young leaders are capable of. By trying to learn about the criminal justice system, I discovered an aspect of peer-to-peer justice that I had not expected. We were to be role models, not only for the defendants that came through the program, but also for the younger youth court members. A year into my volunteer work, I watched the seniors lead the executive board and the board of directors, myself now a member of both. I tried to classify the different types of leadership so that I could emulate the qualities that I saw. 2 years ago, I attended the first meeting of the revived Anchorage Youth Advisory Commission. We elected a chairperson and people to lead each of 4 committees focused on various projects. Just last year, we advocated for a proposed ordinance to have a non-voting youth assembly member, a position that will open up this fall. The municipality leadership positions are similar to those that I saw in youth court. My experience being around young leaders has given me an informed perspective of what teenage leadership looks like. Teenagers are able to direct a group, manage a project, or inspire a crowd like all other leaders. Most importantly, though, we are able to teach each other how to become better leaders. Teenage leadership is inherently valuable. We develop leadership qualities by watching others and through practical experience, and we apply our skills to the benefit of ourselves and our communities. We know teenagers are role models for each other, and let's examine why leadership is inherently valuable. Leaders help us complete projects to the best of our abilities. We have all heard a speech or watched a video or a presentation that has caused us to want to act. Leaders are inspiring. They make us feel like we are working towards the right goals. They help us realize that we, as a group, will accomplish those goals. Many of us think that we have too little time to accomplish all that we would in an ideal world, and leaders make projects seem important enough for us to make time, regardless of how busy our schedules might be. Leaders bring the inspiration that is the key to success. By inspiring us to put effort into our work, leaders make us more efficient. We are suddenly spending more time being productive and less time worrying about not having enough time. Thus, we experience more progress, and people like progress. Progress gives us a sense that we're moving forward. We think our time is well spent, and we see that our situation in our community is changing and moving forward. We sometimes forget a high-paying job in favor of a nonprofit that is a direct benefit to the lives of the people around us. And that's because we would prefer progress. Because progress makes us happier. We are comforted by knowing that even when something does not go perfectly, we're still moving in the right direction. Leaders are at the root of success, and the value that comes with leadership appears in several different forms. Teenagers in Anchorage lead by holding elected office, managing projects, and advocating for issues, or by being role models to others in the community. Each type of leadership is unique in some aspects, and certain traits are found across all categories. Let's start with elected leaders. Elected leaders set goals, manage projects, and advocate for their issues. While campaigning, Anchorage teenagers communicate goals for their organization that they're running in or their school. For example, in student government, students often present a speech as their in order to campaign, and in Anchorage Youth Court, members write letters of intent outlining the platform that they're running on and the changes that they're planning on making to the program. In the Anchorage Youth Advisory Commission, commissioners elect a person who can articulate what the committee or the commission as a whole will accomplish over the next year. Elected leaders must be able to set goals, and then they have to act upon those promises. Elected teenagers are responsible for managing projects. For example, last year, one committee chair on the Youth Advisory Commission managed the planning and execution of an event called Teen City, which is actually going on again this year as we speak. The commission chair led people to advocate for the Anchorage Assembly having a teenage member, and that position will open up this fall. The Youth Court Executive Board organizes an annual Halloween event to promote youth court to teenagers. And often the projects that these elected officials do include some sort of advocacy. Elected leaders are well informed about the changes that they want to make, and it's their responsibility to communicate to everyone else and convince everyone else that the goals that they're outlining are the goals that the group should be trying to achieve. Often, when somebody is running for an office, they're more informed about what power they have and what they could actually change than the people who are going to be voting for them than what the people who are going to be voting for them know. And so, as a result, they must be able to convince everyone that what they stand for is what they should be standing for. While elected leaders have been chosen to lead projects, other teenagers in Anchorage often self-select and who will be in charge of an undertaking. They step forward with the vision and direction that causes others to be ready to follow. In school, we all wonder who will complete what parts of a group project and whether it's possible to divide the load evenly amongst all members of the group. We skip through a lot of pointless disagreement and discord when a leader analyzes the necessary tasks and fairly assigns them. The leader has an idea of what the finished product will look like, and she communicates her plan so that each person understands how their contribution to the project is reasonable and meaningful. Other teenagers will gather a group to volunteer or create a tech startup or start a band. And all of these are ways that teenagers in Anchorage are leading projects. Some projects are not about getting to a tangible result, though, but rather they're about changing the mood of a group of people. Advocates lead rallies and movements, write opinion articles, and volunteer for campaigns. People who lead rallies reinforce in the mind of the crowd the reasons that they gather, and they convince them to take further action. Right now, the United States is seeing a lot of teenagers standing up against gun violence, and just yesterday at East High School, students listened to a junior present a speech about her perspective on the Second Amendment during a walkout. That same junior recently got an opinion piece published in ADN. Teens in Anchorage write opinion pieces to convince others to change their perspective or to take action. Leadership does not have to entail face-to-face contact. Writing is often a powerful means of communication. Whether focused on youth matters or on issues that everyone in the United States are debating about, teenagers submit well-researched opinions to the news. Last year, a graduating senior published a piece about the price difference in various brands of the same product and expressed his desire for the American Health Care Act to address pricing transparencies in pharmaceuticals like insulin. Written advocacy informs people about issues that a leader wishes to help people understand. Teenagers also volunteer for campaigns, and they advocate for the campaigns or the issues as they talk with voters. Campaign volunteers read about the candidates and ballot initiatives and explain to others why an issue or candidate is worth supporting. They're leading their the other community members to vote and to support the issues that they care deeply about. Teenagers advocated in the mayoral and school board elections this last spring and shared information about some of the ballot propositions. By advocating, teenagers are being leaders in the community. Teens also are acting as role models to the community in the sense that they're getting people to vote. And there's many other situations where teenagers act as role models as well. From the model schools from the model student to the model citizen, teenagers are able to set a standard for other people. Anchorage Youth Court, for example, follows the principle that positive peer pressure encourages teenagers to follow the law, and so that young attorneys and judges model behavior in youth court that they hope that they will be able to encourage the defendant to imitate. And the Youth Advisory Commission hopes that the teenage assembly member who will be appointed next fall will act as a role model for all the other teens in Anchorage and encourage them to get more involved in government. Leading by example is one of the most important ways that a teenager acts as a leader in Anchorage. Each type of leadership is distinguished by certain characteristics, but some characteristics or traits span all types of leaders. Leaders are best if they're inspiring and helpful and articulate a vision for a better future or what the finished product that everybody is working towards looks like. Whether a speech, example, or written work, leaders must inspire the people who they wish to lead. People will work harder, enjoy the tasks, and be more focused on a goal if that goal is set. People need to hear that their work is important and productive. When a person is struggling with a task, the leader must step down from their pedestal and work as a teacher to that individual. In Anchorage Youth Court, cases are decided by 3 judges, and the leading or presiding judge helps the others to understand the position and responsibilities. Where is a group headed, and what needs to be completed in order to get there? The leader provides this sort of vision to the group. Whether by leading a strategic planning meeting, like the one that happens with the board of directors for Anchorage Youth Court each year, or articulating the steps and goals through other means, vision is critical to bring a group of people towards a common goal. While leadership is inherently valuable as a trait, teenagers in Anchorage also bring a lot of concrete benefits to the community by acting as leaders. Anchorage Youth Court has an all-youth executive board, a half-youth, half-adult board of directors, and youth judges and attorneys. Teenagers have the ability to hold office, lead projects, advocate for changes to the program, and be a role model to all the other members and defendants that they interact with. By being leaders at Anchorage Youth Court, teenagers are reducing crime in Anchorage. Defenders who go through the program are less than half as likely as similar defendants who go through the regular justice system to commit another crime within 5 years. The municipality of Anchorage, which offers the Youth Advisory Commission so that the assembly and the mayor can have input from teenagers on the work that they're doing, allows commissioners to lead meetings and provide advice to organizations around town and to the assembly and mayor. And those commissioners are able to hold elected office either by being elected by the entire commission to a position or being elected to be a committee chair. Teenagers are putting on events through that connect their peers with educational and volunteer opportunities in Anchorage. For example, last year at Teen City, 400 teens had access to over 20 different organizations, which is an example of one impact that the Youth Advisory Commission is making on in Anchorage. And also providing feedback to programs that otherwise might not have an articulate opinion from teenagers, the programs specifically that work with teenagers, having that input helps them revise curriculum or program goals. Most high schools and middle schools in Anchorage have some form of student government or National Honor Society or Junior National Honor Society. Students hold elected office through those, and they plan events and act as role models in the school. And they're building a sense of community in their school, which benefits Anchorage as a whole. While I've mentioned a few of the leadership positions that I'm familiar with, many other youth organizations provide tangible benefits to the community. Anchorage is bettered by teenagers being ready to lead. Employers and colleges recognize the value of leadership. Leaders are able to conduct meetings and work with a group. Leaders are innovators, managers, and able to bring a project from start to finish. Leaders are efficient and cause people around them to be efficient as well. A well-led workplace is a happier environment. Resumes highlighted with leadership tend to be preferred in most government-related high school programs, likely because showing leadership means that the person will be a good candidate for elected office in the future. The Senate Youth Program actually requires that applicants hold elected office either in student government or National Honor Society in order to apply. The program is for juniors and seniors, and 2 people are selected to go to DC for a week each year and receive a $10,000 scholarship. Another program that's available to leaders is Boys State and Girls State, which is also for juniors. And this is where competitors are tested on their campaigning skills and legislative skills. And the top 2 people from that are also sent to DC for a week, and scholarship money is associated with the top 4. The Senate Page program is another program for juniors as well, and it's either 3 weeks long in the summer or an entire semester during the school year, where the juniors go and spend that time working on the Senate floor every day. The pages are selected from all across the country, and Alaska is lucky to have one of the 30 page slots through Senator Murkowski's office. And when the senators are selecting pages, they're looking for people who are going to be future leaders in the country. Leadership brings teenagers many opportunities and makes them much more appealing to employers. We know that leadership is valuable, and we have looked at different ways teens in Anchorage act as leaders. Looked at different ways teenagers act as leaders and how it benefits the community and prepares teenagers to work. We should encourage leadership and try to build the skills that will prepare us to take over when we're given the chance. Thank you.